Hello, welcome to my channel, Crime in Court. My name is Heather, and this is episode 8 of the Canton cover-up, Commonwealth versus Karen Read, and we are going to cover the deleted data that we have mentioned, I've mentioned in other episodes, but we're going to really dive into what was deleted, what things are missing from discovery that might be, purposely hidden possibly from the Commonwealth to the defense. We'll see. As we go along, you'll kind of see how there's a lot of deleted things and a lot of things that could exculpate Karen Read for this unaliving of her Boston police officer John O'Keefe. The night that we're talking about in question is January 29th, 2022, and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is stating that Karen, out of a fit of rage, backed up into John, and Karen Read, her defense team, is proclaiming she's pretty much framed. I mean, this whole thing has been the searches and just everything has been kind of a cover-up of what really happened that night. And now we're starting to see, as we look into all the court documents and these filings and the data, the evidence, it's really showing that Karen Read did not do this. And there is no doubt in my mind that something happened in that house. And the house 34 Fairview Road that we're talking about in Canton, Massachusetts, on that evening. And it appears that John was beaten and left out in the cold for the elements to take him. And all of his injuries, which we will get into in the next episode, all of his injuries seem to be like from the head up and on his arms, which if he's hit by a car, it doesn't really go along with the Commonwealth's theory that those are the injuries that he sustained from that. So anyways, for this episode, let's dive into the data, and we'll get into the autopsy and injuries and where the dog Chloe is at this point in the next episode. So before we get started, please don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, share. If you have somebody that might be interested in this case, please let them know. This case is it's starting to really make the rounds nationally. So, and it's still ongoing. So this is, it's kind of I think this is going to be a national case once everything breaks. But all right. So, whoops. First, I'm going the wrong way. Hold on. Sorry about that. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is John's missing ring camera footage. And so we have discussed already in some detail that when Karen woke up in the morning and she was in a panic and looking for John, it was, 4 something in the morning, she's looking for him, and she left the house in a panic and backed up into John's car, and in doing so, she cracks her taillight, because you can actually see in the video that she John's car slightly shifts in the snow, and you can tell that she definitely hit it. So, but as she drives off, you can still see that the tail light is intact. At that point, we don't have, there's other missing ring data that we don't have. And we're going to talk about a motion for getting that ring data because, well, you'll see. So the defense, come on. Oh. All right, so the defense is asking for the production of the search warrant and missing ring video camera footage from John's house in Canton, Massachusetts. So now comes the defendant, Karen Ms. Reed, or the defendant, and respectfully moves this honorable court, pursuant to whatever statute that is, to compel the Commonwealth to produce forthwith a copy of the search warrant, including the application, affidavit, and return obtained by investigators for ring video recordings from John's home. So that's his address. The defendant further moves for the complete production from Ring, which would have included a cover letter along with other proprietary information about when the cameras were motion activated, as well as all Ring video recordings in the Commonwealth's possession. So they should have a list of all of the video recordings from the Commonwealth, and it should include all the different recordings in their discovery, and then that should be handed over to the defense, that list. And it appears that they never got the full list, or it hasn't been produced. So as grounds, therefore, the defendant states the following. On October 5th, 2022, this court, Canoni J, that's Judge Jean Canoni, I think her first name is, presiding, ordered the Commonwealth to produce a copy of all Ring video surveillance footage stored on Mr. O'Keefe's device, which captures the exterior of his residence located at 1 Meadows Avenue between January 28th and January 29th. See defendant motion and compel discovery. So, in another hearing, which was dated October 5th, the court, the judge, ordered that the Commonwealth turn all of this video surveillance and everything over to the defense. On November 14th, having not received all of the ordered video recordings, the undersigned, that's the defense attorney, counsel, emailed Norfolk County Assistant District Attorney Adam Lally. He's the one that's presiding over the case for the Commonwealth against Karen Reed. So this attorney, who was it? Yannetti. So David Yannetti emails the Norfolk County Assistant District Attorney Adam Lally for production of complete archive of Ring videos from 1 Meadows. So consistent with the court's order. And he provided an exhibit there. All right, so on January 5th, the entire defense team participated in a Zoom video conference with ADA Lally, informing him of the discovery material that was still outstanding, including the above-referenced missing Ring videos. During that meeting, ADA Lally revealed to counsel for the first time that investigators had obtained and executed a search warrant for Ring videos. So that was the first time that they announced it at this meeting. All right, so ADA Lally also informed counsel during that meeting that he would produce the requested materials by January 16th, 2023. On January 5th, 2023, attorney Elizabeth Little E. emailed 88. She's with the defense attorney's team, so she's on the team of Karen Reed's defense. And Elizabeth Little emailed ADA Lally to confirm that he would be producing the Ring search warrant, as well as the complete production from Ring by that date that he said he would provide it. On January 16th, 2023, that's when he was supposed to provide to the defendant all the video surveillance. So on the 16th, and to date, whenever this was written, the defendant has yet to receive the Ring search warrant and complete production from Ring. So 6, it is clear that some of the surveillance footage is missing and or has not been provided by the Commonwealth to the defendant. So they've asked for this. It's been court ordered. They've asked for it again and again, and they were told a certain date. That date has come and gone, and now they still don't have the video footage. So they are to assert now that there's footage that is either missing or not being provided. There are videos that have been produced which depict John O'Keefe's vehicle in different positions, yet not videos of the vehicle having been moved in the interim. So you can see that there are pieces or chunks of the footage that is taken out from what was provided to the defense. So given that Ring cameras are motion activated, there are videos that are still to be provided. The defendant further relies on the attached affidavit of counsel. So they provided an affidavit as well. And this was submitted February 1st of 2023. So of last year, a year past the actual incident. The actual date of the incident was January 29th and 2022, and it's been over a year now, and the defense has yet to provide all the discovery. To date, they still have yet to provide a lot of the discovery or allow testing of certain discovery. They've objected to basically every ask of the defense along the way whenever they've asked for evidence. So we'll see what happens. Another thing I wanted to mention before we move on from John's video Ring footage is that the date of incident, remember the phone, John's cell phone was found under the body, under John. So how it got under him in the snow, I don't know, but it was there. And immediately it was picked up because we see steps, like as soon as the body was discovered, we see footsteps on his health Apple Watch data. His health data says that he was moving around. So it's obviously, somebody picked it up and had possession of that phone. And we know that Canton or either Canton or the state police took over that item of evidence, and therefore they had access to John's Ring camera footage. Or, being able to log in and deleting things they could have done. Just saying. I'm not implying or alleging anything. I'm just saying there would have been access. That's all. All right. So back to our PowerPoint here that I created. Let's go to the next slide. Did Brian have video surveillance? So this is something that comes up throughout the motions, and we find out that Brian Albert, homeowner, Boston police officer, you would think he would have some sort of, protection, safety. You might think he would have Ring footage. So let's talk about that. In this motion, which was received and filed September, I think that's a 7, of 2023. So this is the defendant's motion for order pursuant to whatever statute that is directed to Google the company, LLC. So now comes the defendant, Karen Reed, by and through her counsel of record, Worksman, Jackson, and Quinn. So now this is Alan Jackson, the attorney Alan Jackson representing her through this motion, and respectfully moves this honorable court pursuant to Mass R. Crim P 17A2, whatever that is, to issue a summons to the following entity to deliver the described records to the clerk of court in advance of trial. So before trial, they want these Google records of Brian Albert. So here, information requested. Defendant is seeking the following information for any Google Nest cameras or associated accounts belonging to Brian Albert or Nicole Albert for their residence located at 34 Fairview Road in Canton, Massachusetts. 1. Setup information related to any Google Nest camera and associated account registered to Brian or Nicole Albert for their residence located at 34 Fairview Road. This request is limited to Google Nest cameras or associated accounts that were set up by either of the above users prior to January 29th, 2022. So they're looking for anything before that date, any account. 2. Service usage for any Google Nest camera or associated accounts for the above individuals which were activated prior to January 29, 2022. This should include service attributes such as features used or enabled, and service usage data such as the start and end date, service adjustments, and feature settings. So basically everything. 3. Any audio or video data associated with any Nest camera or associated accounts belonging to the above individuals recorded on the specific date of January 29th between 12 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. So they want all of that. Any records, logs, or other information documenting manual device interactions and or records of deletion of data which was recorded between 12 a.m. and 7 a.m. on January 29th, 2022. So they want all the video, audio, everything, all the features, the settings, the any logs, records, and specifically also records of deletion. They want all of that data, especially for that morning, January 29th, from midnight to 7 in the morning. So Miss Reed stands charged. We know the charges. Mr. O'Keefe was found unresponsive. Miss Reed vehemently contests these allegations and has obtained significant reliable evidence suggesting that other individuals were involved in the murder of Mr. O'Keefe and the subsequent cover-up thereof. So her and her defense are flat out stating, I didn't hit him and you guys are covering up the unaliving of my boyfriend and now you're framing me for it. So she's flat out accusing these individuals of that. All right, or her defense team is. And that's their strategy. So Brian Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, all of whom were present at the Albert residence on the night in question, have maintained that O'Keefe never entered the residence. So, given the court's intimate knowledge of the facts of the case, the foundational facts surrounding this case are discussed here in open, only briefly. The facts set forth in the defendant's Rule 17 motion for that same statute directed to Brian Albert. So they've already discussed this in full detail. They're not giving all of the details here. So they've said, like, we've just basically we're summarizing here. All right, so 3. The notion that longtime Boston police officer Brian Albert has no security cameras installed at the residence where he lives with his wife and children is hard to believe. Clearly, security camera footage capturing the interior and or exterior of Mr. Albert's residence located at 34 Fairview Road would establish whether Mr. O'Keefe entered the Albert residence in the early morning of the 29th, or if she was struck by Miss Reed's vehicle. So it would prove one way or the other, but they're not providing video. So if they do have the video, we're subpoenaing Google and we're looking for anything you got. All right, so this is the motion to ask for that subpoena to get the records from Google. So number 4, in spite of this very obvious fact, not a single police report or other item of discovery produced in connection with the case discusses whether there was video surveillance and or security cameras installed at the residence located at 34 Fairview Road, i.e. the crime scene on January 29th. In fact, according to police reports, law enforcement never asked Brian, Nicole, or any witness, for that matter, whether they ever observed video surveillance or security cameras installed at the Albert residence. Moreover, ADA Lally did not ask a single witness who appeared in connection with the grand jury proceedings whether there were security cameras installed at the Albert residence, in spite of the fact that law enforcement undertook no documented efforts to elicit this clearly relevant information from any of the witnesses during the course of its investigation. At the close of Brian Albert's testimony, a juror asked Mr. Albert, I don't know, but are there security cameras? Shockingly, before Brian Albert could respond to the question, Mr. Lally, Assistant DA Lally, interjected, stating, let me follow up with that. So what, if anything, did you receive as a Christmas gift this past Christmas from your wife Nicole in reference to the cameras in your house? To which Mr. Albert responded, I received for a present some type of camera. It's not a ring, but something along those lines. It might be Nest or something like that. So Nest, I'm not positive if the name brand, but then Mr. Lally asked, and at the time of this day, January 29th, had you gotten around to installing that yet? Mr. Albert then responded, sorry, let me move this up here. Mr. Albert then responded, no, we never installed it. ADA Lally then immediately concluded all questioning of Brian Albert, stating, seeing no other questions, I would thank the witness and ask that he be excused. So that was in a grand jury testimony, and that means that there was no opportunity for the defense to ask any questions. So any questioning that happened about it was coming from the jury. The jury was questioning. A juror asked Mr. Albert, I don't know, but are there security cameras? And it was followed up immediately by the assistant district attorney and not Brian himself. Okay, so 5. This exchange is incredibly disturbing for a number of reasons. First, ADA Lally apparently had personal knowledge of the fact that Mr. Albert was in possession of a security camera before January 29th, 2022, because we're talking Christmas present, so that would have been the month before. You would have figured that you would have had it hooked up by now. It's the end of January. Including specific details such as the fact that he supposedly received this camera from his wife Nicole for Christmas more than a month before Mr. O'Keefe's death. So what I just said. In spite of the fact that this information is not documented in any reports or other discovery that has been provided to the defense to date. So the defense has not received any information about this Google Nest. Not until they got the grand jury testimony or the grand jury transcript. So it was just overlooked, I guess, or mistaken. We'll give them the mistake. It was a mistake that they forgot to include that information. All right. All right, so at a minimum, the Commonwealth has failed to comply with its mandatory discovery obligation requiring the disclosure of all statements of persons the party intends to call as witnesses. Obviously, that was not done. Second, in spite of the fact that ADA Lally had personal knowledge that Mr. Albert owned a security camera on January 29th, ADA Lally failed to elicit this information when he questioned Mr. Albert during the course of the grand jury proceedings. Significantly, this information, which was apparently known to the Commonwealth, you like how they keep throwing in, the Commonwealth knew, ADA Lally knew, that despite being known to the Commonwealth, it was never would have come to light if a juror had not independently taken it upon themselves to ask that question. Yeesh. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of bad. So, in fact, Mr. Lally took the extraordinary effort of interjecting himself between the juror question and Mr. Albert's answer in order to lead Mr. Albert into the answer that Mr. Lally had choreographed. Very telling. And that's very well described by Action Jackson as Brian from LTL Let's Talk Live True Crime calls him Action Jackson. So third, law enforcement was evidently aware that Mr. Albert owned a security camera on January 29th and yet never sought to secure that camera to determine whether it obtained information of the evidentiary value. 6. As set forth herein, Ms. Reed requests that the court issue a summons to Google the requested information, which will establish 1. Whether Mr. Albert installed a Google Nest camera at his residence, and contrary to his representations to law enforcement, and or 2. Will provide additional evidence regarding what happened to Mr. O'Keefe at the residence. So it's either going to let us know if they had an account, and if they did have an account, then it will give us light if there was video recording that day as to whether Karen drove off with the John going in the house or if something else nefarious happened. So we'll leave it at that. We don't need to get into the argument there. So I close these. All right, let's go back to our slides. So did Brian Albert have video surveillance? We don't know yet. We'll find out if they are able to subpoena and get that video footage. All right, so the Canton Library's missing footage. This would also help us learn if Karen had a taillight that was out or not. So there's a 2-minute time frame of the video footage from the Canton Library, which would have shown Karen driving home that night from the Albert residence to the O'Keefe residence, and it would have shown if her taillight was intact or not after leaving there. And importantly, that information is missing. So let's take a look at this motion here. So this was, there was a bunch of other things. I'm just going to read a short paragraph here. So, as detailed below, a 2-minute portion of critical video surveillance footage obtained by the Massachusetts State Police from the Canton Public Library, which should have captured Miss Reed returning to O'Keefe's house from the Albert residence in the early morning of the 29th and the condition of her taillight, is inexplicably missing from the surveillance footage that was produced to the defense by the Commonwealth in discovery. Evidence establishes that Ms. Reed arrived home at O'Keefe's house at 12:41 on January 29th after dropping off O'Keefe at the Albert residence. Indeed, the Commonwealth produced a voicemail left by Ms. Reed on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, time-stamped 12:40 12:41. So we have this through discovery. We know that Karen was home, or at least at John's house, because she went there to go stay with the niece because the niece was home alone at that point. So she's older. She's like a teenager. But Miss Reed went there to go and stay with her during that evening. And there's somewhere along the lines where it said like she hadn't planned on staying at O'Keefe's. So I think that was another reason why she was unsettled with sleeping there and that he hadn't returned. So she, anyways, that's just speculation on my part. But so she calls and we hear a voicemail. She's leaving a call to John saying, "Hey, where the heck are you? You were supposed to text me or let me know that it was okay for me to leave you at the party or whatever. But I'm going to bed." Probably is her text or her message. I'm assuming it might have been a little more angry than that, but who knows? I might have been angry too if I was waiting for him and he was ignoring my texts and calls. So we can hear her in her, we can hear in the recording, her car door, the garage door, and the house door can all be heard closing as she walks back into the home, audibly walking across the garage in heels. So it is timestamp 12:41. She is in that house. There's no disputing that. And that's even coming from the discovery handed over from the Commonwealth to the defense. So they can't really contest that that statement of fact when they provided the discovery, even though they have Jen McCabe saying that she saw the SUV leaving at like 12:45 or sometime after 12:40, which she would have been long gone by then. All right, so Mr. O'Keefe's former address, 1 Meadows Avenue in Canton, is roughly 1 mile from the Canton Public Library. There is no question that the video equipment at the library was working during the early morning of January 29th because law enforcement obtained video footage from the library, which shows Ms. Reed's Lexus SUV pass by the Canton Library on the way to the Albert residence at 12:19. Okay. But inexplicably, there is a 2-minute time gap. What? A 2-minute gap in the video footage produced to defense counsel between 12:37 and 12:39, which is the precise time at which Miss Reed would have driven past the library after leaving from the Albert residence on her way to Mr. O'Keefe's residence. The defense asserts that this missing portion of the library surveillance video would have shown Ms. Reed's taillight intact because she never struck Officer O'Keefe with her vehicle. Yet, those critical 2 minutes of the video footage, which would have captured the condition of Ms. Reed's taillight, are missing from the surveillance footage produced by the Commonwealth. So, clearly stated they are missing surveillance. It would have been the exact same time that she was coming back from the Albert house to the O'Keefe residence, and you would have seen her taillight intact, but conveniently or surprisingly, inexplicably is the word they used, the video footage is missing. So there's that. All right, back to our slide. The next thing we're going to talk about is Jennifer McCabe's deleted phone log. So, hold on, let me get a sip of water here. Let me first start by saying that we're going to go through an affidavit by a forensics expert, a mobile forensics expert who did an extraction of Jen McCabe's phone, and we're going to see what he finds. And then I'll kind of go over again what the timeline of where things fall, just so you kind of see it visually. So, Sorry, let me put my water over here. Throat gets so dry reading. You don't realize it. Okay. So, Jen McCabe's phone logs. Let's talk about that. So, this is an affidavit from Richard Green, who under oath deposes and states as follows. I am a data forensics expert with United States Forensics LLC, hereinafter USF. I am a certified computer examiner with the International Association of Computer Forensic Examiners and hold certifications in cybersecurity, computer crime investigations, and digital forensics and computer investigations. The following facts and information are based on my own personal knowledge, and I could testify completely thereto if called upon as an expert witness to do so. So he is an expert. He's laying out his foundation of why he's an expert. He's, I'm sure, been called as an expert before, and that's why he has no issue about being called as an expert for this case. He says, have at it. Let me talk. I have things to say. I declare that the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge, and that I have no personal interest in the outcome of this case. USF has received inter alia, I think is how it's pronounced, I'm not sure, which means they've received this and many other, this and other things, but they've received the cell phone data images of 2 iPhone devices, which were forensically imaged by the Massachusetts State Police in connection with this case. They have been entered into evidence as follows: USF evidence number followed by description, owner, serial number. So we've got this ending in 04 is the iPhone 11 Jen McCabe, and then this ending in 10 iPhone John O'Keefe. So he did the forensic downloads of John and Jen. The data images have been processed and reviewed with Cellbrite Physical Analyzer. So that's like one of the main ones that, I mean, if you've listened to any trial, that's usually what our forensic analysts use for looking for cell phone extraction data. And then this Axiom, what I think it is to find deleted things. So things that would be deleted off of someone's personal device, but it would still be out there because it happened. So it's logged, in the cloud somewhere. So additional forensic tools utilized include this Belka, Soft, Sanderson, and whatever, all these other CellHawk. All items listed have been converted to Canton, Massachusetts local time unless otherwise noted. So that's good to know. All right, so analysis of Jennifer McCabe's iPhone. 5. I have analyzed the data obtained from the forensic image of Jennifer McCabe's phone, iPhone 11, using the tools outlined in paragraph 4 above. The analysis has revealed significant exculpatory evidence. So exculpatory means it proves that Karen couldn't have done it. This is evidence against Karen's guilt. That's what exculpatory means. All right, so search history. 6. In my professional experience, any analysis of the device's internet search history often gives valuable clues to the user's intent or knowledge surrounding an incident. I conducted a review of the search history information obtained from Jennifer McCabe's phone and observed the following significant artifact from the morning in question. This is that search that the defense team, the Commonwealth says never happened. The defense team, this is their expert saying this happened, and here is all the metadata that I got from it. So, house long to Diane Cold, she misspelled it. And then this was done at exactly 2:27:40 a.m. on the 29th. And then there's a Google search. He even gives the URL, the Safari suspended state tab and the fact that it was deleted as reported by Cellbrite, but they were able to retrieve it. So thus, search history information obtained from Jennifer McCabe's cell phone indicates that on January 29th, 2022 at 2:27:40 a.m., the phone's user entered the following search in Safari: "House long to die in cold." A true and correct copy of the Cellbrite information associated with this artifact is attached here too. So they do provide a screenshot, which we'll kind of go into later because we're going to go into this in more detail. So in order to confirm the accuracy of this search, as reported by Cellbrite, I independently performed a low-level analysis of the artifact found in their screenshot that they had of it, their exhibit. So it was located in the browser state, or the write-ahead file, whatever that is. So write-ahead files, he tells us, are temporary in nature and show the location where data is written before commitments to the main database are made. The particulars of this artifact are as follows. So it gives the specific location and all the raw data and the time converted. So in his time it was 7:27 a.m., but he converts it later down here to 2:27 a.m. So we see that there. So that he is independently able to verify that the time, date, and fact of the search reported in Cellbrite is accurate. So before we move on from that, let's stop right here and just say, this is kind of how the Commonwealth explains it away. I mean, no, sorry. Shoot. What page was it on now? I don't have it. There's a way in which the Commonwealth, which the Commonwealth explain away the, why is my page moving on its own? How they explain away that fact, and I can't find it now. I don't have the right page pulled up here. It might be 17. Oops. Sorry, bear with me here 1 second. I'm trying to find the right page. Can't remember. No. All right, I'll come back to that. So, significantly, the Cellbrite analysis further reveals that the 2:27 a.m. search for "How long to die in cold" was thereafter deleted by the user. So he has concrete evidence that the user deleted it. So this browser state data set contains information about the open tabs in the Safari application. This allows a user to leave the application and then return at a later time to resume the browser session. The individual tabs can be deleted by the user. Here, Cellbrite indicates that the 2:27:40 a.m. search for "How long to die in cold" was deleted by the user. So, yeah. So they're saying that we have confirmation she searched it at this time. There's no doubt about it. 2:27, she searched it. This browser opened. It went to all the appropriate, they got all the data, the appropriate data for it to verify that. And then they verified also, this Richard Green verifies also that it was deleted by someone who had access to that phone. Oh, here. I also performed a timeline validation of the 2:27 a.m. search by confirming that the device was in use at the time of the search. The following artifacts support that the user was interacting with the phone during the period. So the iPhone was unlocked at 2:23 a.m. and then again, or also at 2:21 a.m. There were text messages that were sent. We don't know who they were to. We just know they were two unknown text messages that were sent at 2:25 and then at 11 and 2:25:56. And then there were two screenshots that she deleted at 2:26 a.m. And then at 2:27 a.m. she searched house long to die in cold. So there's that. There was definitely somebody on that phone. I'm not going to say it was definitely Jen, but somebody had that access to that phone and was looking at things. So the data unequivocally establishes that an individual using Jen McCabe's phone searched how long to die in cold. A further review of search artifacts revealed that the user of Jennifer McCabe's iPhone conducted several similar searches later that morning on January 29th. A true and correct copy of these subsequent searches are attached here too. Okay, and we'll get into that later. I'll show you. So she tried to cover her tracks, or it appears she may have tried to cover her tracks. So she searched again this how long T die in sicked, and then she did it again the first wrong way, which was house long to die in cold. So she did it a second time at 6:24 a.m. I was able to locate I was also able to locate an additional artifact established here too, which was recovered from the Safari cache, and indicates that the user also conducted the following search: how long to digest food, which was at 6:23 a.m. So right before she did this how long T die in sicked. And there's the link for it. So before we get into the deleted call logs, I want to try to explain how the Commonwealth explains this away. So they are saying that she basically searched for this in the morning, but because she used a tab that she was using from the previous night or something, she was searching something about like soccer or lacrosse, like some sporting event that her kids were at. She was searching, which it wasn't even in season for that, but that's what she said she was searching. And then, so the Commonwealth is basically saying that on that same tab, it should have reverted back to that search at 2:20 in the morning or something, but it inadvertently or incorrectly, according to them, provided information that she searched how long to die in cold, when that just doesn't even make sense. But there was a portion here on this page, or not this page, it was 39 I would need to go to. So here is kind of an explanation given from the Commonwealth. I don't think they ever put it in any written documents because I looked for it, but I think it was in an oral argument in a motions hearing or something where they tried to word salad their way out of it. So, in regards to the cell phone data voluntarily provided to the Commonwealth, so Ms. McCabe did volunteer her phone over to the police, but it wasn't until like 3 or 4 days later. So remember that. But anyways, in regards to the cell phone data that she voluntarily provided to the Commonwealth, the cell phone data on the victim's cell phone, the Commonwealth experts opined on an assessment. So after the Commonwealth's experts reviewed all the data from Ms. McCabe and Mr. O'Keefe's phones, they have now come up with this. On an assessment of the totality of the data, that Ms. McCabe did not make deletions of calls. Rather, the technical data showed the calls being stored in a different file. Additionally, two experts opined based on testing artifact knowledge, and the most accurate timestamps that the Google searches for how long tea die in sicht and at how long to die in cold occurred at approximately 6:23 and 6:24 a.m. So they're basically just asserting that the only time she ever searched those was at those 6:23 and 6:24 minutes, morning hours, but not at that 2:27. And they used it as, or explained it as, she had the same tab open from something else and the data was wrong. So that's how they explained it. And if that doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't make sense to me either. So, all right. Let me know if that makes sense to you. Let me know if you think that that's possible, that she could open up a tab from 2:30 in the morning and open it up at 6:30, one that she had been previously using at 2:30 in the morning, open it up at 6:30, and then have the data, the cell phone data, say that she was using that search that she typed in. She had to type in a search and click search. They're saying that the data now for her phone is just wrong, and it accidentally told us that it was 2:27, but really it was 6:27 or 6:23, whatever it was. So let me know in the comments below what you think about that kind of argument. All right, so deleted calls, and we're going to get into this too. So here Richard Green says, I also conducted a forensic analysis of the user's call log history from the date in question. An analysis of the device's call history is helpful in determining associates of the user which may be of interest. A user's call history is automatically recorded and stored on the user's cell phone. The absence of recent historical call information suggests that a user has taken affirmative steps to delete the call history. So they're saying this is very fishy, as it looks fishy. In my professional opinion, coming from Richard Green, the confirmed deletion of recent historical call information suggests that a user has engaged in efforts to tamper with, alter, destroy, and or hide information or evidence. Importantly, deleted information is not always recoverable. The call log artifacts were examined using Cellbrite's physical analyzer and are attached here too. Further analysis was performed with Axiom Forensics, both of which suggest that there are significant deletions of call data by the user, Jennifer McCabe. And we're going to get into all of it on a timeline that I put out, or that I created, so it looks a little bit, so you can see it visually in your mind's eye of what 18 deleted calls looks like, because 18 deleted call entries between 5:33 and 8:50. So we'll get into that. All right, in this case, I was able to further verify that there were additional deletions which were not recovered from Jennifer McCabe's phone using Cellbrite by cross-referencing and deleted call entries from Jen McCabe's phone with data obtained from John O'Keefe and Karen Reed's cell phones. So, there are 17 calls listed on John O'Keefe's iPhone referencing Jennifer McCabe's call phone number. So she calls him at least 17 times, or 17 times in total between the two of them. Only one of these calls is found in the Jennifer McCabe phone call history. So out of those 17, there's only one in her call log. There are 8 calls listed on Karen's call log referencing Jennifer McCabe. So Karen has a Karen's call log shows all the different times that she spoke with Jennifer McCabe that morning, but Jennifer McCabe's phone um, only lists 2 of the 8 calls in her call log. Thus, I was able to determine that certain call log history and data were missing from Jennifer McCabe's iPhone, which could not be recovered during Cellbrite. So those are calls that they couldn't even recover, and they only were able to reconstruct it from other people's call logs. I will need to obtain call detail records from Jennifer McCabe's cell phone carrier and cross-reference that information with the data obtained from the analysis of her phone. So who else was she talking to that morning? Those weren't the only people. She was also talking to Carrie Roberts. She was talking to Brian Albert. She called Nicole Albert. So those are all things that should be cross-referenced because because obviously we have proof now that she has been deleting her call log. So, deleted screenshot. In addition to the above data that was deleted from Jennifer McCabe's iPhone, a screenshot of a contact saved as, quote, Uncle Brian A, end quote, described as, quote, home number 3, end quote. All right, so, she made calls to that number she made calls to that number that morning, and she also took a screenshot and deleted the screenshot of his number that morning. All right, so location data analysis of the device's location data is helpful to determine the user's whereabouts during specific incidents. iPhones store various location data with varying degrees of accuracy. When an application requests location data, the iOS responds with what is known as Apple Location Services and Assisted GPS. Some applications may require only regional data, such as weather applications, and other ones require highly accurate data, such as driving applications such as Waze. All right, so in an effort to determine the whereabouts of Jennifer McCabe's phone on the 29th, location data was exported into the CellHawk application. This program allows the expert to filter location data based on accuracy, time, and location. So this is how we are able to know where Jen's phone is. So when she says that she leaves the waterfall bar at 12 and her phone doesn't leave there until 12:30, we know that that's not true. I think it was not quite a half hour, but there was at least a 15-minute discrepancy for all of the people that said that they left the bar. Everybody said that they left at at midnight, and John and Karen were the only ones there. So, all right. So basically, they're just stating like they used this. This is at 12 a.m. They were still in proximity of the waterfall bar. 12:13. Accuracy improves significantly and indicates that they are leaving the waterfall bar. So they're starting to move location. So you're not getting data points to your phone unless you're moving, it looks like, or, changing locations. It won't change like your data points. So you're in the waterfall bar and it's going to continue hitting there until you start moving away from it at 12:13. And then she arrives at the Albert residence at 12:18. Accuracy improves significantly and indicates at 1:47. Remember, they all said that they left at like 1:30. And here we're seeing her leave at 1:47 in the morning, according to GPS location, based on different apps and things that she has on her phone. So we're not going to get into all of that. We don't need to read it all, but because I'll have it laid out better for you. The health data information. Data obtained from the health application on Jennifer McCabe's iPhone indicates that her device was connected to an Apple Watch on the 29th, which enhances the accuracy of the health data recorded and provides for a greater amount of detail. A true and correct copy was obtained and is attached. Okay. Analysis of John O'Keefe's phone. So he analyzed the health-related data obtained from USF evidence, which is a forensic image of John O'Keefe's iPhone 11. When a user enables the application to record information, the iPhone's operating system can record a broad range of activity and health-related data. So so John O'Keefe's phone, he already enabled the application to record information, so we're getting accurate health-related data. So at between 12:11 and 12:21, John takes 170 steps. Between 12:21 and 12:24, he takes 80 steps. Between 12:21 and 12:24, he ascended or descended 3 flights of stairs. And at 12:30, 12:32, he took 36 steps. So that is the last health data activity on John O'Keefe's phone. And we have an expert saying health data, especially when you have an Apple Watch, is very accurate. But the iPhone system is also, iPhone operating system can be very accurate too when so even if you don't have an Apple Watch, you can still get a lot of data off your iPhone for if you have GPS health data enabled on there, which John did. So notably, although the time ranges indicated above record total steps and or elevation during the relevant time period, it is impossible to determine whether the steps taken and or elevation gain was recorded during the entirety of that time period or for only a portion of that time period. So you can't tell exactly, like you can't be certain. So you have a time period of 10 minutes, let's say. You don't know if it was taken at the early set of the 10 minutes or afterwards. Or the whole thing, like if it took 10 minutes to walk up and down the stairs. The whole time. Okay, so I subsequently analyzed the location data associated with O'Keefe's phone. iPhones store various location data with varying degrees of accuracy as explained in paragraph 12 above. In order to analyze the location data associated with this case, the location data was exported into the CellHawk application. This application allows the expert to filter based on accuracy, time, and location. For this portion of the analysis, I only relied on data that had an accuracy of 100 meters, I'm assuming, or better. Based on my analysis of the location data obtained on John O'Keefe's cell phone, it appears that the first location ping in the neighborhood near the Albert residence occurred at 12:19. Location data indicates that O'Keefe arrived at the residence at 12:24. So let's scroll back up here. He arrives at 12:24, and between 12:21 and 12:24, he ascended 3 flights of stairs. Does the front door not have steps to walk up? Like, he obviously walked up the steps to get into the door at that moment, 12:24, when he got there. He went straight into the house. Am I reading this wrong? I mean, he must have gone straight into the house. If the location is having him arrive at 12:24 and he's going up a flight of steps already, he's going up the flight of steps to their home. I believe the home has a few steps before you have to go into the door. Anyways, we don't need to read the conclusion to this guy. Basically, he thinks that it was that this information was tampered with. So Um, and he's just asking to get this information. Or, well, it's his affidavit stating, like, this is what he reviewed, and it's my professional opinion that it looks like, things had been deleted and significantly altered in ways to, favor the Commonwealth. So let's hop back over here to my PowerPoint, and we'll talk some more about John McCabe's phone. Let me get this into a full screen, and I'm going to hide me so you just see full screen. All right. So, Jennifer McCabe's deleted phone log. We have already talked about, we got an affidavit from Richard Green. He says, this is my expert opinion. There were things that were deleted, call logs, screenshots, things of that nature. So, it is important to note that the Commonwealth's extraction report that was submitted to the defense was actually the extraction report actually omitted any of Jen's search web history, her web search history. So anything that had to do with any of these searches, it was not provided to the Commonwealth. So that's something to think about. And if that is the case, it almost may appear, since they probably knew about it, it might even appear that there might be some shadiness on the prosecution's fault, but I'm not going to go there. Anyway, so Jennifer McCabe's deleted phone log, she also deleted, as we saw in Richard Green's affidavit, so I counted like over 34 deletions of things just within like the night to the morning. I don't know, but something along those lines. I don't know. I counted 34 something, and that included like screenshots, deletions of, texts and things like that. She deleted a whole bunch of stuff. But it is in particular of note that there were 18 deleted call entries between 5:30 a.m. and 8:50 a.m. And that is during the times of after she had already been notified from Karen, after Karen already woke her up. There were 18 calls that at least were deleted from her call log. So she may have made more calls, but she deleted at least 18. And this is 17 of those were to John O'Keefe. So bear that in mind. All right, so let's start back to where, why is this not full screen? I don't know, it's supposed to be full screen. There we go. Okay, so starting back in the evening when we're just leaving the bar and getting to the Albert residence. So Jen receives a text at 12:14. Remember the where to text from John. She did not delete this. In that same minute, she calls John and they talk for 44 seconds. She does delete that. 12:18, so 4 minutes later, John calls her back wanting more clarification as to where the house was on 34 Fairview, and she deletes this off the record. They talk for 36 seconds. So a little bit later, 12:27, Jen texts John, but it's not deleted. And remember, 12:24, John's arriving at the house and ascending stairs. But at 12:27, and supposedly Jen and Matt are standing at the front door, waiting and watching for them to come in because they see Karen's car driving away. but they don't see her hit him, and they don't see John enter. So just going with what their statements are saying. But anyways, so at 12:27, so this is 3 minutes after Karen drops John off, Jen texts John, not deleted. 12:29, Jen calls John. They talk for 8 seconds, but Jen deletes this. 12:31, Jen texts John, not deleted. 12:40, Jen texts John, not deleted. Jen calls John 2 times, wasn't answered, and she deletes these. It's just a weird pattern of how she does and doesn't delete things. It's just very odd at first. I think maybe she just started to and then realized, like, oh, I shouldn't be, I don't know. Maybe she realized she shouldn't be deleting things because it made her look even more guilty. But anyways, so John's dropped off around here, 12:24, and at this point, Jen McCabe is like, where are you? Starting to freak out. She texts him, park behind me. Where are you? Are you here yet? And we don't know where, like, what happens to him between this time where they talk for the last time and then he doesn't answer his phone. So it happens very quickly within the matter of less than 10 minutes. Or about, not less than. Just over. That's what I meant to say. Anyways, so 12:42 a.m., Jen texts John again. Not deleted. 12:43 a.m., Jen calls John. Not answered. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Jen calls John, not answered, deleted. So she's just deleting all the calls. She left the texts at the beginning, though. Then 12:45, she calls John, not deleted. 12:45 a.m., according to her statement to Trooper Proctor, she sees Karen's SUV drive away at 12:45, but we know that Karen was actually in John's garage and walking into the house at 12:41. Jen calls John again, not answered, deleted at 12:46. 12:47, same thing, deleted. 12:50, Jen calls John, not answered, deleted. And now it stops. The calling stops. Now they're on their way home. And see, I think at this point, she didn't know what had happened to him. And then at some point, they're told everybody's got to leave and we need to get everybody out of here. So Jen has to drive home Brian Albert Jr.'s friends. So after that point, I think this is when Jen knows or is made aware of what happened to John. Because I don't think she knew at first. And then they have to go and, drive everybody home. She gets home, and then that's when she sends 2 texts to unknown people, not deleted. And then 2:26, she deletes 2 screenshots. 2:27 is her house long to die in cold search, deleted. And then nothing until, well, we saw that she deleted a bunch of other things around that time too, according to the extraction data. But nothing else happens around that time. She does walk around a lot. So during the night, like, she never really stops. I don't think she ever sleeps because her Apple Health data shows her walking a lot. At like all hours of the night between 2 and 5 here. So Jen calls John again, deleted. And this is after Karen calls Jen, and then right after that, Jen calls John, and it's not answered. So at this point, I don't know what Jen knows, but she's obviously guilty. She has some guilt knowledge because she's deleting things on her phone. So 5:04 a.m., Jen calls John, again, not answered and deleted. All right, Jen receives a call from Karen, not answered, deleted. Which, why is she deleting her calls from Karen? It doesn't make any sense. It's like she just kind of freaked out and started deleting things and didn't know what she was deleting or something. I don't know. At the same time, Jen calls Karen right back. They talk for 43 seconds. She deletes that. 5:08, Jen calls John, not answered, deleted. Same thing, 5:09. 5:14, Jen calls John, not answered, deleted. 5:16, Jen receives a call from Karen. They talk for 157 seconds, deleted. 5:19, Jen receives call from Karen, 24 seconds. They talk, and then she deletes it. So they're driving back and forth. Remember, Karen's out. She's driving around looking for John. She's calling Jen and asking, like, hey, have you seen him? Jen's making all these other calls trying to see if John will answer his phone, which, so I don't know. Maybe it's to cover up that she already knows that he's missing. So she was maybe instructed or had the idea to make all these calls to John, knowing he was already not going to answer it, just to cover up for her own mistakes. I don't know. Anyway, so Jen calls John again, deleted. 5:25. 5:26, Jen calls Karen. They talk for 95 seconds, deleted. 5:31, Jen calls John again, not answered, deleted. At 5:32, Jen calls Karen. They talk for 64 seconds, deleted. 5:33 a.m., Jen calls Tom Beatty. This we learned in one of the motions or one of the witness statements. I think it was Tom Beatty is one of John O'Keefe's friends, and Jen thought that Tom might know where he was. So she was calling him, but at 5:33 a.m. it was not answered, deleted. 5:46 a.m. Jen's phone arrives. GPS location points it at John's house. So they arrive at John O'Keefe's house to everybody to get into Carrie Roberts' car to go drive around. 5:52 a.m. Jen calls John, not answered, deleted. Same time, Jen calls Tom Beatty, not answered, deleted. Same time, Jen's phone leaves John's house. So her phone is real busy this morning. 5:57, Jen's phone is in the area of the Waterfall bar. So they're driving away from John's to the bar, which they have to pass to get to 34 Fairview Road. Same time, 5:57, Jen calls Tom Beatty again. They talk for 2 seconds and deleted. I don't know what they could have said in 2 seconds, but 2 seconds, deleted. 6:03 a.m. Jen's phone arrives at 34 Fairview. So they just get there, and same time, 6:03 a.m., Jen calls 911. They talk for 3 minutes and 32 seconds. And she also calls Nicole Albert. So 6:03 to 6:07, she calls Nicole Albert almost right away. They talk for 9 seconds. It's deleted. A minute later, she calls Nicole again. This is her sister. Remember, she's calling her sister, asking her. It's said that it could be heard in one of the or in the recording that we have of the 911 call that you can hear Jen whispering to her sister Nicole on the phone, "Are you going to come out and help?" or something along those lines. I don't really hear it, but I have a hard time hearing. So if you guys hear it, let me know. You guys listen to it. I played it. Can't remember. I think it was in the one where we went with inconsistent statements. It's at the very, very beginning of inconsistent statements. If you want to hear the 911 call again. All right. So they talk 9 seconds, 7 seconds, deleted. 6:23. So quite a while later, Jen calls Brian, not answered. Jen searches, how long does it take to digest food at 6:23? Not deleted, because she wants that to be on her phone, because she wants a record of, hey, I'm deleting this thing at 6:23 in the morning, not at 2:27 in the morning. Then at the same minute, she searches, how long tea dye insect, not deleted. And then at 6:24 a.m., Jen does her second search of how long to die in cold. And this was not deleted. Of course, she wants those on her phone log so that it looks like she did it then and not at 2. All right, so 9 minutes later, Jen calls Matt. They talk for 19 seconds. Deleted. 6:47 a.m. Jen calls Matt again. They talk for 18 seconds. Deleted. 6:52 a.m. Jen rejects a call from Matt. Sorry, hubby. Deleted. 7:21 a.m. Jen calls Karen. Not answered. Deleted. And at the same exact time, whoops, that's an error. Forget that. That's not supposed to be there. At the same exact time, 7:21, Karen calls Jen back and they talk for 2 minutes and 19 seconds. Deleted. 7:33, Jen calls Carrie, 4 seconds. Deleted. This is Carrie Roberts, the other one who was there on the scene. 7:49, Jen calls Carrie, 1 minute 49 seconds. Deleted. 8:34, Jen receives call from Canton police. Deleted. 8:45, Jen receives call from Carrie Roberts. Deleted. 8:50, Jen receives call from Tom Beatty. It's a missed call. Deleted. 8:59, Sergeant Lank calls Jen. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Jen calls Sergeant Lank, and this is the time. So this is a 4 minute and 15-second call. She deletes it, but this is when she calls him and says, hey, I just remembered Karen was talking about possibly hitting him. So, yeah, so that's her, hey, I just remembered an important detail that might prove that somebody I was with when we found him could have done something nefarious. All right, anyways. And then at 9 a.m., Jen calls Sergeant Lank back. Oh, Jen calls Carrie another time. Sorry, I missed that. 5 minutes, 28 seconds. And then Jen calls Sergeant Lank back to get him to come to Fairview. So we've got Jen's a busy bee that day. And then this, forget that's there. All right. Whoops. All right. So on the so at 2:27, the safari search. How long to die in cold? We're going to go through this really quickly. So, or not really quickly, but we're just going to go through this. So anyways, this article, How Long to Die in Cold. Well, this is an article that came up when I first did a Google search of how long to die in cold when I spelled it with an S. And this is written by John P. Kuna. And it's how long does it take to die from hypothermia? So this is what Jen McCabe would have likely searched or seen, something along these lines. Not necessarily this article, but this is what she would have read at 2:27 in the morning. And I just kind of want to put that out there so that you know that she knew what John was going to have to experience in the next hours of the morning while she knowingly, potentially, allegedly, knew he was there, left him there to become unalived due to severe weather. So, how long in hypothermia? How long does it take to become unalived from hypothermia? Depends on several factors, including whether and cold exposure is in air, and if the cold exposure is in air or water, how cold the temperatures are, and the person's underlying health and age. Depending on the conditions, hypothermia can occur within minutes to hours or slowly over days to weeks. But because the temperatures were cold, we know that it happened quickly. So in the air, hypothermia can develop in as little as 5 minutes in temperatures of minus 50 degrees. And that in people who are not dressed properly and have exposed skin. And then at negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit, hypothermia can occur in about 10 minutes. Death can occur in under an hour in extremely cold conditions. And we know that he was out there for a few hours. So when Lucky Laughran drove his plow by and saw that Ford Edge blocking the the location of the yard on Brian Albert's residence where John's body was, exactly where John's body was located, that was at 2:30 in the morning. So if we are to assume that he was put out there at that time, if something did happen to him and there is a cover up and he was put out there on that lawn, he was likely put out there after that moment, because Lucky did not see a body. He saw the fort edge, but he did not see the body. So at some point later in time, it's likely or possible that a car was pulled up there so that they could pull the body to the edge of the lawn from the backyard. And yeah. So it's possible that the body was out there from after 2:33 in the morning, because that's around when Lucky Loughran was driving by. So, all right. So here, when the body temperature becomes 90 to 95 degrees, so this is mild hypothermia. You start shivering, goosebumps, you get bluish skin, confusion, trouble speaking clearly, memory problems, altered judgment, you start breathing faster, you could have hyperventilation, loss of balance or coordination, clumsiness, apathy, fast heart rate, and urinating more than usual. So that's the very mild, the first stages of hypothermia. So when you move on to moderate hypothermia, 82 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, the shivering stops, you start to feel tired, you start to see things that are not there, having hallucinations, shallow breathing, decreased reflexes, paradoxical undressing. Oh, so you just start taking your clothes off. You feel like you're hot even though it's cold out. You're in a stupor. Increased risk of abnormal heartbeats. So you're likely to have your heart arrhythmia not beating properly. Like you could skip beats. You can have faster heart rate, slower heart rate. Dilated pupils also is in moderate temperatures. And here, for body temperatures that are less than 82 degrees, which we know he was, like 80 degrees is what the court documents have shown us. So he was in severe hypothermia by the time they found him, because his body temperature was 80 degrees. So he went through all of those things, whether he was conscious or not. His body went through all those things. So I just want you to know that, and I want you to know that Jen McCabe knew that going home and letting it all happen, letting all these things happen. Stiffness, allegedly. I don't want to get in trouble. All right, so stiffness, low blood pressure, muscle rigidity, passing out, coma, unresponsiveness, breathing stops, and then the heart stops. So John experienced all of these things, in addition to the injuries that he sustained from whatever happened that night, which likely was a severe beating and a dog attack, which it appears that way. All right, and this I just want to read real quickly, because it comes out of a petition that was filed by the defendant on the 27th, and I just really I like how it succinctly they describe Jennifer McCabe's Google searches. So shortly after Jennifer McCabe discovered O'Keefe's body, and after opening an article in her Safari application entitled "How Long Does It Take to Digest Food?", Jennifer McCabe attempted to overwrite her incriminating early morning search of how long does to die in cold by re-entering it as at a more appropriate time. However, in her haste to cover up her incriminating 2:27 a.m. search, Ms. McCabe accidentally searched "how long to die in sicht." It's hard to say. Immediately thereafter, 6:24, she corrected her search to match the 2:27 a.m. misspelling and searched house long to die in cold. Notably, in case this sloppy attempt to cover up her incriminating Google search wasn't enough, and in an effort to conceal her own criminality, on February 1st, 2022, days after O'Keefe's death, Ms. McCabe inexplicably told law enforcement for the first time that as she was sitting alone with Ms. Reed in a car on scene after law enforcement arrived, Ms. Reed yelled at her 2 times to Google, "How long do you have to be left outside to die of hypothermia?" You tell me if that sounds realistic, because at that point, Karen was already inconsolable. She was screaming and saying, "That's my," according to all the sources, she's screaming and yelling and saying, "That's my boyfriend," and she's hysterical, and the police have to sit her in the back of the car. She's got blood all over her, and she's acting irrational. So, I don't know. But then, but all those irrational things that she did, you told us the first time we interviewed you, but now all of a sudden you're starting to remember, oh yeah, she said she might have hit him, and oh yeah, she told me to Google this. So it's like, oh yeah, all these things that I remember, oh yeah. So really quick, I just want to go over, we're wrapping it up here, but I just wanted to show you, this is a screenshot of the Cellbrite extraction indicating that John McCabe deleted the Safari search that happened at, you can see here, 2:27 a.m. on the 29th. And there's her Google search, and then here it says deleted. Yes, she deleted that. So it was not found on her phone, her call log. And lastly, here is the Cellbrite extraction indicating John McCabe's second Safari search, and it is notably not deleted. So same thing here, 6:23, she does the how long to die in sick, and then here's the house long to die in cold, the second version of it that she's trying to correct herself, and both of them were not deleted, as you can see right there. So, I hope you enjoyed. Whoops, I popped on and off. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really tried to put it together to show you. There's a lot of information that's been missing from the jump. We're missing information. We're being told certain evidence doesn't exist, and yet, there's proof that it does, or something that might state otherwise, that, like learning from grand jury testimony that Brian Albert may have had a Google Nest gifted to him for Christmas, and we're just finding out about it now, and not learning about it in Discovery. So there's a lot that's, as you can see, it's not just Jen McCabe's phone records, but that alone is exculpatory for Karen Reed. But all the other stuff combined, I mean, come on, look at everything that I pulled together here. So anyways, I hope that was informative. I hope that if you haven't been convinced by now that there is potentially some kind of cover-up in Canton, I hope you are seeing that, if not a cover-up, it sure looks suspicious. And it definitely seems like Karen Reed is being railroaded by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts when you look at everything in its context and look at the bigger picture of things. So please let me know what you think about the Commonwealth hiding information, potentially Jen McCabe doing these Google searches. What do you think? Does the Commonwealth have a leg to stand on? Is their argument? Does it make sense? Which we don't even have in writing. It's just that it overwrote that tab. I don't know. You guys tell me if there's any forensics experts out there that would love to chime in. I would love to hear from you and let me know if it's just not even plausible what the Commonwealth was coming up with to explain that away. So, what do you think too? Let me know in the comments below about, like, well, first of all, do you delete your call logs, and how often? And if you delete them, do you delete them sporadically, or is it like everything at once? Or is it just like ones and twos? Let me know your pattern, because when I delete my call log, if I ever do, it isn't like, usually never, but if I delete them, it's usually like old voicemails that I'm just getting around to listening to now. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. And as always, I really appreciate your likes, subscribes, your shares, your comments, all of it. It's great to have engagement with you guys to talk about this case, because it is so fascinating. And any opinion you guys have, I'd love to hear it, just as long as you're respectful and kind to others, kind to each participant in the chat. And I hope that you join me next time. See you later. Bye.